So, today's horror book, movie, whatever thing for today is Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. It's the lesser-known sequel to The Shining. We follow Danny Torrance to in his adult life. It was actually spurred on by someone at a book signing asking Stephen, hey, whatever happened to the kid from The Shining? And boom, ideas started flowing forth. And Dr. Sleep is what we have to thank, or what we have for it. In the beginning of it, we see Danny Torrance, who now goes by Dan Torrance, but anyway, we see him living in the same rut his father did. We see the alcoholism coming back, or throwing itself onto Dan, and we're just all in the beginning of the movie, or the book, I was so angry, like, what even? No. He saw what it did to his dad. Why is he doing this? Why is he drinking? Why? Well, turns out, whenever he was under the influence, the shine was weaker, and he didn't have to see all of it as much, I guess, or see all of the pain it brought on as much, or be reminded of, okay, that's creepy as crap. Pennywise is just in the corner in an ad glaring at me. It's creepy. I don't like it. Anyway, what was the thing? The shine, okay. In other words, he was getting drunk to make the pain go away, I guess, in a way. Which is what most people do when they drink, is what a lot of people do when they drink, apparently. So I'm told. Anyway, this one comes out on Stephen King's official website. The thing was, it says blah 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 blah. He started drinking. Okay, basically in the book, he finally is starting to get sober. And he's starting to hold a job because he found someone, or someone who referred him to the AA meetings, and he's trying to stay sober, trying to keep the shine away at the same time, which is hard, apparently, to him. And as we continue on the story, he, at the AA meetings, he meets this family doctor and becomes friends with him. And this family doctor is found a girl, a baby, with the shine, like Danny, or Dan, whatever. I'm gonna keep saying Danny because that's what it was called in the first book. Leave me alone. But Danny starts having these dreams about this little girl, and there's this chalkboard he has in his bedroom, and every so often there's a message left on the chalkboard by the little girl. So the little girl is, by the True Knot, is a living off the steam that children with the Shining produce when they are slowly tortured to death. Death. On highways across America, a tribe of people called the True Knot travel in search of sustenance. They look harmless, mostly old, lots of polyester, and married to their RVs. But as Dan Torrance knows, the tween, Abra Stone, that's her name, learns the True Knot are a quasi-immortal living off the steam that children with the Shining produce when they're slowly tortured to death. So they discover Abra, and they discover her, and Dan has this connection with her in his mind, because I guess that's what the Shining does for they connect through the Shining in their minds. So Dan has to rush around, try to explain to this girl's parents that she's gonna get kidnapped, and this is how he knows why, because he's been talking to her. She is 11. She's 11 or 12. And Dan is a grown man. So you can imagine her parents' reaction. Are you stupid? Do you think we're stupid? But, in the end, the only reason they believe Dan is because of the doctor. Abra's doctor is Dan's friend, and he believes Dan and Abra. And so she gets kidnapped, but Dan, her father, and everybody have to rush to save her. They end up saving her. It's not much of a scary kind of thing. I just liked it because I just wanted to do it because it's a sequel of The Shining, and it really is creepy. The way it reads is so creepy, because these people know about this kid, and they're gonna torture her to death so they can live forever. And tell me that's not creepy. Someone please tell me that's not creepy, because I know that it's the creepiest thing I've ever heard. It scares me. Like, the idea of a 12-year-old girl having to deal with that on her own, without her parents believing her that what's going to happen is going to happen. That's scary in itself, I think. I think that's why it's so scary, is because she's so young. I think that's why The Shining was as scary as it was, because he was so young. To me, anyway. It wouldn't have been as scary as it was had Dan been a teenager, or had Abra been a teenager when it happened, but they were just little kids. Like, he was like 8 and she was like 12. They were about the same age when it happened, when this happened to them. And in both instances, their mothers never recovered. Wendy Torrance never recovered from the injuries she sustained at Overlook. And in this, Abra's mother never recovered. They had to, no, they weren't divorced because of it. No. They were almost divorced because of it, actually. Because of her gift. But it just seems so scary to me because they're so young, I think.